On Triple J this morning. That's a new song from the Gaslight Anthem. It's called American Slang. Before that, Muff and Platonic with Size of the Soul. VJ with you on Triple J. It's 21 away from 8, and Craig Foster has joined us. Former Socceroo. You would see him on SBS on the World Game and covering Champions League and stuff like that. And he has written a book called Foz on Football. Hi. How you going, Foz?
I'm very well, VJ. Thanks for the invitation coming in. It's always nice to speak to a fellow football man. So
yes,
good to be here.
Yes, it is. And look, apologies in advance if I just get ridiculously nerdy over the next 20 minutes or so. Look, we're gonna spend a bit of time later on. I'd love to pick your brains a little bit about whether or not Australia will win the World Cup this year, and we'll deal with that. We'll deal with that later.
That should be a short discussion.
Okay, in your book. It's first of all, great book. If you're a fan, even I would say if you're a coach of any level, read this book. It's really fascinating. You certainly get right into the guts, into the detail of football. But you also, one of the things I want to bring up is that you say that the other football codes in Australia are the codes of last century. Football is the code of this century. Here's my question: are you worried for your safety sometimes?
Slightly, but I tend to move in football circles anyway, so okay. I have some pretty big guys around me, but it's something I believe. Look, when I went to write the book, you have to make a decision. Are you going to be true to yourself and true to the game? And the way I handle my role on SBS and also, with the Sun Herald and indeed writing is that I try to be true to the game. And the truth is, as far as I believe, and I think millions of Australians agree, that football is the 21st century Australian game. And it represents everything that we need in this century. That is, it's outward looking, not inward looking.
Right.
It's inclusive, it's not exclusive. As you know, it's a game for everyone. And I talk, for instance, in the book about a game that we play on Bondi Beach, and you'd be welcome to come down if you like sometime.
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah. I'd love to play against you and Les Murray. I think you'd school me.
It's just fantastic. The point of the game is that Les is in his mid-60s, but he enjoys it more than ever, and so do I as a former player in my early 40s. And we have kids come and play, some who have fantastic talent. But the beauty of football is not only that it's a game for life, and can be enjoyed at all the various ages, but also that we can all play together and still everyone can take something out of the game. But when you talk about engaging with Asia, if you want to talk about shaking hands with the world in this century, it's only football that does that.
Yeah. A game for life and also a game for death, because you talk about in the book about football clubs that have their own cemeteries, like Boca Juniors, and there's another one, and their motto is "True passion knows no final whistle." I love
That's true. It's great, isn't it?
How would you like to be, when the time comes many years down the track in some sort of I don't know, in a special place with football kindred spirits?
Well, that's right. Probably, I would like to be scattered somewhere on a football cathedral, something like the Nou Camp, perhaps, or
that'd be good. Yeah,
Maracana, or maybe one day, even ANZ Stadium for the fact, what John Aloisi did out there in 2005. That's an abiding memory, I think, for Australian sport. But for me, is something very close to my heart. The fact that they made that World Cup, which was so critical to the progression of the game at that time. It was the perfect kick at the perfect time, really.
Now, okay, Craig Foster, my father just won't get down off his "they need to make the goals bigger" horse. He likes AFL, I like football. Right. We have quite substantive debates, let's call them, for want of a better word, to be polite about it. Give me some tips. How can I win that argument against him about amount of goals scored and stuff like that?
Great, good question. Let's start from this point, that if you're having substantive discussions, I say well done, because the reason I wrote the book, we're running into the World Cup, and I think it's time Australia had it. I think it's time we had a discussion about these different codes. And what I say in the book is that there are not 4 football codes, and that's what many people like to say. There's one football. There's only one football. And the other codes play predominantly with their hands. And for me and for most of the world, for 99% of the world, we can't understand why you would want to call it football. To us, it's ridiculous. In the late 19th century, there was a game which had, in England, was the inception of football. They split because one group wanted to carry the ball and one wanted to play beautifully on the ground. One became football and one became rugger. and therefore rugby union, and most of the carry ball, handball codes then flowed on from that. Football stands alone. The other codes are, in essence, physical games with a limited level of skill.
What about goals, though? What can I tell them about goals?
It's quite simple. It's quite simple, and I deal with it in the book. I say it's one of the great myths that Australia has to come to terms with, the fact that there's not enough goals. And I say, it's going to be in the paper this week in the Sun Herald, and what I argue is quite simple, that in fact, the average goals across the Champions League and in the A-League and right across Europe and World Cups is well over 2 a game. I think some of them are about 2.4, the A-League's about 2.7. So, in fact, every time you go watch a game of football in Australia, it's more than likely that you'll see from 2 to 3 goals. Now, the difference in football is this, that we don't need 100 points to feel as though a contest has taken place. It is the value placed on a goal that creates the tension, which creates the passion throughout the game, and it is the difficulty of scoring a goal which gives us the beauty of football. So if someone says extend the goals, I say there's already almost 3 goals per game on average in the World Cup. We don't need more to feel as though it is a sport.
Alrighty, Craig Foster having a chat to you this morning on Triple J. Stick around, Craig. We'll be back and we'll maybe have a chat about some World Cup stuff soon.
Lovely.
This is Royce on Triple J. Look, the football debate has really kicked off on the text line 19757 555. Craig, I agree with you 100%. Football all of the